Welcome to Everything Elon Musk Said Today, where I go through everything Elon said on X in the last 24 hours. And Elon reposted that it still feels surreal that the moment for robotaxi has finally arrived. Tesla is officially listed in Austin as an active robotaxi network, and it is presently in the testing phase. And Elon reposted this video of Hallmark's catalogs, Tesla picking them up in front of Costco. And Mike P used full self-driving as he went 1,100 miles in his Tesla, all throughout New England and back to Philadelphia. He says, "I will never be the driver on any road trip ever again unless it is a Tesla with FSD. You must live with it to understand. FSD is flip phone to smartphone, phone book to Google, stairway to escalator. It is a step change technology that is irreplaceable once lived with." And Waymo has shut down operations in Los Angeles for the weekend amidst the immigration protests. I think they don't want any more of their vehicles destroyed and set on fire. And Elon says he's laughing his ass off, but I don't think he's necessarily making fun of Waymo. I think he's just laughing that they called it local events, rather than them being candid that they're just avoiding the terrorism. Because we know Elon has felt what Waymo is probably feeling right now. Elon knows very well what it's like to have your product set on fire by the far left. And today Elon stated that the far left is murderously violent. And he said that while quoting a post that references the recent killings. Z claims that the left killed the CEO of United Healthcare, 2 Israeli ambassador staffers they attempted twice to assassinate the president. She says there was attempts to murder federal ICE agents all week long, and today unfortunately somebody killed the Minnesota state rep, whose name was Melissa Hortman, but the actual killer has not been identified yet. But regardless, Z says that the left has become a full-blown domestic terrorist organization. And Elon says the same people who blame the West for everything also consider it a human rights violation to stop the rest of Earth from moving here. That is just a level of irony that is staggering. And then Elon reposted this long quote from Thomas Sowell that talks about how Western civilization is under siege. The post talks about how people often focus on the West's historical flaws while ignoring similar or even worse issues in other cultures. Western culture is not the only culture that has been oppressive, because it's also been a leader in moral progress in a lot of other areas too. And maybe the Egyptians agree. Today they're physically throwing out the Western leftists who showed up to march to Gaza. And Elon replied to this saying, "Hard life lesson there." And today 7 men who groomed vulnerable girls in Rockdale in the 2000s have today been brought to long-awaited justice. And Basil the Great says, "I would just like to say a big thank you to every single person who kept pressure on this government to launch a national inquiry into grooming gangs. But in particular, I think we should all be very grateful to Elon Musk. Back in January, he brought this issue back into the spotlight. The media ignored it, the politicians didn't want to talk about it, but he called all of them out. So thank you, Elon." And Elon says, "I'm glad to hear this is happening." But the Rockdale grooming gang will not be deported. And Basil says that's absolutely outrageous that they're allowed to remain in the UK. And Elon is shocked by that. And I guess it's because the girls that they were grooming are being categorized as prostitutes rather than rape victims. And Katie Lamb says, no, they are rape victims. This needs national inquiry now, and Elon agrees. And on the topic of grooming, this politician from the UK, Rupert Lowe, says none of this would have happened without Elon. No inquiry, no justice, nothing. He does deserve huge credit for that. And the extreme left in the United States is still caught up on Elon Musk allegedly using drugs.
That's not you. That's not you, and neither was this. I get it. You were hurt in your previous relationship with the left, so you threw yourself into a bad rebound. We've all been there, man. I just want you to look at everything you developed before Trump. The electric cars, the reusable rockets, the brain chips. And then look what you developed after Trump. A drug habit. And now I see you're thinking of crawling back. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's a terrible idea. He's not good for you. And we need our boy genius to be more stable. Come on, you're older now. Pretty soon you might even start having kids.
And Elon replied, as he has said very often recently, "I'm not on drugs, for fuck's sake." And while I wish Elon would sue for defamation, X continues to chip away at the billion-dollar propaganda machine. And here's an awesome clip from Chamath from the All In podcast that Elon just reposted.
Here's what I'll say. I was sad at the end of last week. One is my friend and the other is my president. And it seemed like a really profound friendship. And so I was bummed. Here's what I'll say this week, though, on a much more positive note. I saw Elon on Tuesday, and I got to spend a couple hours with him at Tesla. He let me audit a couple of meetings with him, actually.
It's always fun. Yeah.
Yeah, one was Dojo, and then right after that was the Optimus team. One thing I'll say is, I've said this before, but he attracts these incredible men and women to work for him. They are inspiring. Just sitting in a meeting and hearing it, what they're doing was amazing. And then second, to see Elon in action at scale in that way is like watching a maestro paint a masterpiece. It's really impressive. Yeah. And then separately, I saw President Trump doing a couple of pressers, and he was in his zone of excellence. So it seems like they're going to find some common ground here. They are better together. And I'll just say, Elon, amazing. Tesla, incredible. And I would not be sleeping on this company.
The difference in perceptions of Elon Musk based on people who are actually around him in real life and those at legacy media who just like to interpret the happenings in Elon's life is huge, and it speaks volumes. But this is just a confusing middle layer in reality before we all become one collective consciousness. And then it's going to become much easier for all of us to get to the truth about who people really are. Elon could put the final nail in the coffin of the Iranian regime by providing Starlink internet to the Iranian people. Because Iran cut off all the internet so that people could not organize a coup and communicate. And Elon replied saying, "The beams are on." And 2 days ago, Intel suggested that all of Iran's general staff, including the head of the military, were eliminated in tonight's strikes by Israel. And Michael says Intel should focus more on delivering a reliable chip instead of getting involved in politics. And Elon found that pretty funny. And we went over this post yesterday about how some parts of the space station are getting too old, and so Elon recommends deorbiting it within 2 years. And Peter replied saying, the parts of it that are the oldest are the Russian side. Some of those modules were literally manufactured in the Soviet Union. But he says the issues with getting rid of it is that there's still usable equipment and experiments on board. But Elon replied today saying, I think we need to move on from this ancient space station. If necessary, deep space starship missions with astronauts can fill the gap. And he was also shocked to know that nobody really knows when some of the parts on the space station were manufactured. This guy speculates it was in the late 70s. And this pilot just put his Starlink terminal on the dashboard in the cockpit because Starlink will keep you connected wherever you go. And some chiefs at Meta, OpenAI, and Palantir were sworn into the Army Tech Unit as lieutenant colonels. They will inject battlefield-ready tech into military operations. The corps aims to fuse Silicon Valley expertise with defense strategy. So the unit will support the Army's transformative initiative to overhaul outdated systems with speed adoption of commercial tech. And Elon replied saying, And I'm sure he's sharing the sentiment of these fellow users. And you can edit any image with Grok. And the quest to expedite FSD approval in Europe continues. Lots of people taking action to put pressure on the government to get things moving. And Peter says that right now the global elites are meeting in secret at Bilderberg in Stockholm. Guess what is on the agenda? Depopulation and migration. And guess what? The media are not allowed to report from the meetings. But many mainstream media journalists are in fact invited to take part in the secret meetings. Journalists from the New York Times, The Economist, and Bloomberg and more are there. The media is not telling you the truth, and Elon Musk said, sounds boring. And Constantine asks, hey Grok, what percentage would you need to enrich uranium for civilian purposes, and would a country enriching hundreds of kilograms of uranium, the 60% or above, suggest that it is developing nuclear weapons? And Grok said, enriching hundreds of kilograms to 60% suggests potential nuclear weapon development, as 41 kilograms at this level is enough for a nuclear explosive. Such activity raises strong concerns about military intent. And Elon replied saying, nukes are a trivial technology problem. They solved it in the 40s with slide rules. I think the bigger problems that anybody who wants to make nukes faces is that the supply chains are a lot more tightly controlled, and the political and ethical constraints are also now a lot more significant. And Senator Rand Paul says if FIFA and the NFL want security by the US government, they need to pay for it. The big beautiful bill sends $700 million of your tax dollars to FIFA, an organization that makes $6 billion a year and sits on $3 billion in reserves. They are a very prosperous organization making a lot of money. So how about they pay for their own security instead of robbing the American taxpayer? And Elon replies to this saying, sounds high. And if you want better range, keep the aero covers on your wheels. But if you want the best aesthetic, take them off. And a guy in front of me is on X but on light mode. What should I do? And Elon says dark mode is so much better. Light mode is crazy bright and bad for sleep. And if you guys noticed from this video, that's why I have dark mode on. And X is the only thing keeping free speech alive in America. So that is everything that Elon said today. And if you guys want to get early access to these videos, make sure you join the channel as a member, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.